Okay, you guys, what I'd like to show you here is kind of how to draw DNA, and I feel like drawing DNA gives us a better appreciation for what it actually looks like. Sometimes if we just look at it in pictures, we don't quite get the same appreciation for it. So we're going to draw just a little bit of DNA. And when I say a little bit, we're talking very little. There's 6 bases given here. Remember, our DNA is millions of bases long. We're going to do 6, and that's plenty. And in terms of what we're looking at, remember, oops. And if you notice, the endings of these kind of fit together like puzzle pieces. G and C bond together, A and T bond together. So as we draw them, they kind of show that they do fit together, kind of like puzzle pieces, because Erwin Chargaff had figured out that guanine and cytosine bond together and adenine and thymine bond together all the time. There's no exceptions to that. So here's what we're going to do, you guys. I'm going to draw the DNA on one side, and then we'll kind of I'll have you finish it on the other side, but I'll show you how I do it. I did this trial and error, and I'm not an artist, never have been, never will be, but this is kind of how I do it, so I can put the DNA together and it looks about as good as I can do it. And sometimes we might extend down the sheet, so keep in mind if we keep going down there, that's totally okay. We're not limited to just the size of the sheet. So here's what we're going to do. All right, DNA starts with, I'm going to start here. And I'm going to color mine a little bit just so we can differentiate things. Start with a phosphate. And it's got a phosphate with a sugar backbone. D for deoxyribose. And now, my first base is right here. Adenine, so I'm going to draw an adenine. And I'll try to do the best I can with it. Not perfect, but there's an adenine. And now I'm going to move on to the second one. Another phosphate. And that connects to the sugar. Again, pause the video as needed. The second base is cytosine. So there's my second one. If you're catching the trend, you can sure work ahead of me. And I'm going to keep going. Again, my drawing's not perfect, never has been, never will be. It's going to connect to the next phosphate. And I'm color coding. You guys, if you don't want to color code, you don't have to. You can do everything the same color. I just like the use of color. On to my third one. Third one is here. It's G. So zoom out just so you can see it. I'm starting to build the strand. And keep going. My next letter is an A. Got to remember a total of 6 of these. A, I think I did purple, so we'll go back to that. And I can already see I'm going to run out of paper, but that's okay. Don't worry about that. Oops. Number 5. Number 5 is a T. last one is a C. I was doing green, okay. There we go. So again, pause the video if you like, but there's one strand, that would be a single helix. Remember, DNA is called the double helix, it's 2 spirals, but this would be the single helix, and we're gonna do the other side of the helix. And so next thing I want to show, if I go back here, let's see here. Relatively simple, right here we go. I want to be able to show those hydrogen bonds, and so that's what we're going to show next. The fact that the 2 strands are held together with hydrogen bonds. And we're going to do that in a fairly simple fashion. All I'm going to do here at the end of each one, put some dots there to represent the hydrogen bonds. Okay, so now I'm ready to do the other helix, and now I do the other helix a little differently than my first one. I'm going to do all of the bases first. So by that I mean here A bonds to T, C bonds to G. I need orange. And again, now you start to see that puzzle piece, so to speak. They kind of fit together. G bonds with C. A bonds with T. T bonds with A. And C bonds with G. And now remember, up here, I'll remind you of that. That was, what haven't I used? Chargaff's rule, C bonds with G, A bonds with T. And so that's how I knew to do the other side of the strand, was using Chargaff's rule. And now from here, I will just complete completing each of the sugars now. The deoxyribose. And last but not least, now I'll just go through and quickly put in my phosphate. And there we have 6 strands of DNA. We've got the hydrogen bonds holding them together. Hydrogen bonds, and then the last thing that I'll label just to identify move that over. That'd be 1 nucleotide, and remember, our DNA, it's millions of nucleotides long, and we just did 6 here, of course. But we've got 46 strands of DNA in our cells, and each strand is hundreds and thousands, so we have millions of these bases repeated over and over inside of our bodies. But that's our DNA structure.